Also, July 23rd, 2024, 1 p.m. School Board Workshop. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the National Anthem. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, roll call.
Cheryl Massaro, here.
Colin Conklin, present. Christy Chung.
Wolf, are you present?
LaShaka Moore.
Okay, so do we have any liaison updates?
One.
Okay,
Not too bad.
it's a pretty quiet time, so thank you. for
Yeah,
everyone.
the Flagler Tobacco Prevention Partnership met, and they're reviewing the group's strategic plan for zoning meetings that was held on June 17. Their major goal is to limit, through zoning, the number of tobacco and vaping shops throughout Flagler County, the city of Palm Coast, Flagler Beach, and the city of Bunnell. So that's basically what they're pushing this year. SWAT students, along with interested Teen Summit youth, will work together to support this initiative this school year, along with numerous community partners. So that be their goal all school year. Okay, that's it.
Good. Anybody else? Okay,
Yep.
and we'll move on. Any changes or additions to the agenda today?
One slight change, I do ask that our AI task force presentation be moved to the first presentation after public comment.
Okay.
I would like to also add that the agenda today and the presentations are really going to be around discussions, and so we definitely invite the board to just really engage in the conversations that are happening, especially for the AI task force as well as the HR update. These are both requests from the board.
Great.
Okay, very good. All right, now public comment. Is anybody that'd like to make public comment? Anybody signed up?
No one signed up.
Okay, then we'll close public comment, and we will move to agenda item 9.01, AI Task Force Update. Mr. Deasing and Ms. Phillips, welcome, thank you.
Good afternoon, board.
Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
So, lots of work been done since March when the board initiated the AI task force and kind of brought forth the idea of putting together and getting a strategic group of folks from within the district to really help chart and vision where AI can go as far as within Flagler schools. So that being said, Teresa Phillips really took the bull by the horns, as they say, and really wrangled this thing together. Was able to really do a great launch that I think was very well received. Had a lot of great feedback, and then really got us in a great position to really start with some of our working groups within the district to really allow us to move forward to get us where we're at today. So I'm going to kind of hand this to Teresa to kind of get through. She's going to share with you kind of the work that's been done, kind of where we're at, with not only like what tools and things that we're looking to use, but also what trainings that we've done, as well as what we're looking for being able to do for our students in the 24-25 school year. So, thank you, Teresa.
Thanks. We put out the AI task force to everybody in the district, all employees is what we started with. We had about 70 people respond from all schools, admins, departments throughout, and we had 40 came face-to-face right before spring break to go through like a half-day session with us where we kind of discussed the possibilities of what everything was. We gave them a survey to see what area they were kind of interested in, like guidelines or policies, helping with operations, trying things, helping educate, to kind of get that feedback of where they want to, what areas they want to help. So that way we kind of identified who is there to help with it. One of the first things kind of identified there was working with student services to look at our student code of conduct, because the plagiarism policy was kind of outdated, didn't match with what's available now with AI. So we kind of worked through those and took different examples from different places and organizations and kind of moved it to academic integrity, to kind of a broader umbrella to cover those things. So that's kind of where that is. We have spent a lot of time researching. AI is changing. Not even daily.
Today.
I mean, like it's by the minute. I actually just
Believe
came
it.
here from teaching an AI course, and stuff that was not there last Tuesday is there this Tuesday. Like changes are happening that fast. So we've sent different teams to several different state or national conferences to gain just more information. We did FETC, which is in Orlando, the Future Educators Technology Conference. We sent a team up to ISTE, the International Technology Conference, for feedback. We actually went to the Consortium of School Networking with COSIN with some of that, and then the Florida Council of Instructional Technology Leaders. So we've kind of gone out to all of those to kind of get the most current information and research-based, like information from kind of the experts in the area now to bring back. And then there's a resource called Teach AI, which Code.org and ISTE and Khan Academy have kind of gotten together to kind of bring all the guidelines and information and places together in one spot, like a place to kind of go where you can kind of get some of that research based, and like it's
What's it
just
called,
better
Teresa?
information. It's teachai.org, and it's kind of backed by digital promises in there. So it's a group of people that kind of looked at it with a lot of different experts on the field, and specifically on how AI interacts with education as far as teachers using education, and then also educating students about AI is kind of their
Particularly,
whole guidelines.
ISTE and COSIN really led the charge with that. And there's several other organizations that are kind of underneath that with that umbrella, but really just have continued to develop just some really great tools that we've been able to take advantage of to help with some evaluation pieces.
Like a lot of resources, like some of the training resources we're using in our professional learning are coming straight from that site. They also have different guidelines and resources that are kind of out there, and it's continuously updated as well. One of the biggest areas when they had polled everyone is teachers haven't used it and don't have the professional learning about it and that type of thing. So that's something we've really kind of focused on. I ran through just under 500 people, a couple people maybe have taken two of the classes together, but on different topics. Like I was just doing 40 teachers earlier today on teaching with AI, looking at the different focus platforms that we're on to let them explore it. We have done a choice board where they've gone through. We did AI with our leadership team, and a couple of webinars. So we're kind of trying to just get that information out and really just getting people to even try it and see. And
I was just going to ask, how have you all played with much of the AI?
I've used
Looked at it.
ChatGPT, yeah,
Anything else beyond the chat GTP?
not really.
Can you guys share any of some of the tools? Because they're really,
A lot more.
it's mind-bending.
so there's a ton of tools out there and more coming out every minute. So it's kind of, as far as we've kind of focused down and looked to kind of pick or select several of the best tools, or the tools we're kind of making available based kind of on things. Safety is one of the #1 aspects, and making sure that it's research-based, it's inclusive, it works with our system. So there's a whole set of standards laid out really by ISTE that's used to kind of evaluate those ed tech tools, and what platform is it based on. Like there's different levels of AI, like there's an older version of ChatGPT that it could be on. Like, so there's different platforms that it's based on, so you can tell where it's pulling that information from. So we kind of evaluated all of that, and where we've kind of started or landed our focus with is there is Magic School AI that is teacher, I guess it was created for educators. Basically, so with ChatGPT and Google Gemini, which are also ones that we do, you have to write specific prompts to get the information that you need out of it. Asking like, who are you asking as, what information you want them to use. They've kind of taken that work out of it, I guess, with Magic School AI and made it more user-friendly. So you could click to do if you want to have depth of knowledge questions written about a specific passage. They kind of have that prompting built into the background. So the teacher just loads the passage that it's using and the grade level, and it kind of gives like a first draft of questions for the teachers to go through and see, and they can make changes or have it regenerate. So it's more specific to their needs. There's a lot of different tools in there. It could be one on just helping like with communication, parent communication pieces. There's one that kind of breaks things down into chunks or will differentiate a passage and make a passage of this reading level, the same content information down at a lower reading level so that they can learn about the same different types of topics. So there's a lot of kind of ready-made tools for them in Magic School AI. And then they also have Magic School AI for students, which kind of allows you to give a very guardrailed, protected access to like one specific AI tool. And the teacher's able to see what questions they ask, the feedback they have. For example, you could take a chat bot and turn it into a character from a book. So like Sarah Plain and Tall. So they turned the chat bot into the character of Sarah, and they shared it out with a 3rd grade student. So they could ask Sarah anything they wanted to ask, and it answered as Sarah. And they actually did that during one of the summer reading courses this summer. And I mean, those kids are hard to get interested in reading sometimes. And they were like, that's so cool, she turned Siri into Sarah, like as in their mind is kind of what they thought. So it just kind of helps them. And then the teacher's like, but if you look at the questioning that they were doing and asking and thinking about it when you're looking through that report, was just a great way for that engagement. Or
Probably
additional
higher
help.
level questions as
They
well.
did. She said, and she goes, and it was neat because they'd ask one question. And they're like, oh, wait a minute, she really did answer us. Or maybe I could ask a harder question, you know, and it would kind of go through there. So it kind of gives them an experience with it and not like, here, I'm going to open up the whole, this way. It's kind of has the guardrails in place so we know.
So essentially, if you look at the book, like a little database, the AI says, okay, this is my database, and I'm only going to draw
Correct.
my responses from only this
Just that.
database, right?
Yeah.
And ignores everything outside of that book.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that particular software will do.
Right,
That's
with that
all done
chat
through
bot.
those pre-made prompts.
Okay.
And so that's some of the neat pieces, like where it's been developed for education. There's some pieces that are being developed to align with standards, so you'll be able to select which, like Florida State standards, and so it might be, like one of the
Those are
ones that I
already-
really got a kick out of was if you could find like a relative YouTube video that would be along those lines, and then you could ask Magic School AI to create a set of questions based off of Florida standards, X, Y, and Z, and then it would create those questions and response questions, and then we can work to incorporate those into our LMS, so that now the time that would have been spent with the teacher going through it and aligning it with standards and ensuring that it's a click of a button in a couple of seconds processing. So those are some of the things that I think are impactful just from a standpoint of efficiency.
It's like you kind of have a teacher assistant with you. It's not like they're not taking the place you're teaching. It's like you have a creative teacher assistant by your side that can kind of help you and guide you through some of those things.
And the tools for second language learners is mind-blowing.
Really?
And it is.
Is that another?
Can translate everything.
Is that another website like Magic School? Is there
It's
another
kind of
one?
built into
Oh,
that.
it
So
is,
it's built
okay.
into Magic School. It's built into some of the Google Gemini. So we kind of have, so Magic School and then Canva Magic, like Canva has a couple of AI tools embedded within Canva, which is like that graphic design platform that students can use to create like a poster about something. They have a few tools built into there. One of the neat tools in Magic School is they can have an image generated. So they could put a descriptor of a setting of a story that they did, and then it'll create an image based on the text here. But if their image doesn't look quite right, they know they go back to the text to add more descriptive to get this image to come up here. And we were even testing it this morning, like what happens if you put inappropriate things in there. It's like, oh, this isn't how this is used. Or it would even pop up a flag if it was, they used the word stupid, and that like came up with a yellow flag because I had it set for 2nd grade level. So it kind of watches over that part of it too. So those are kind of the tools right now that are available for students. For teachers, they have those tools as well, and also Google Gemini and ChatGPT, because that kind of is interoperable with the platforms that we have. And then Conmigo just came out at the end of the very last day of our school, actually, which is Khan Academy's AI system, and Sal Khan was actually one of the first people to have access to ChatGPT when it came out, before it was released anywhere. And this is kind of his, and it really helps with personalized tutoring and differentiating with teachers. He kind of has it set up on 2 platforms for teachers to help them find resources or differentiate or level instruction. And then they have personalized tutors for students. The teacher version, they got a Bill Gates grant to kind of make that free for all teachers. So that's available for teachers to use as a resource. It could even be like to brush up on a topic. Like if you're teaching a topic and have kind of forgotten about what happened at the War of 1812, or like you can put in information and it'll kind of help you with that, and then kind of give you some ideas on how to explain it to a certain grade level, broken down from there. The student side is there too to kind of help, and I think that's where this is really going to help more, is really helping teachers be able to differentiate and really start with some of that personalized learning, more prescriptive for students, especially as it continues to go on. Like every student may be able to have a tutor in the future that's specific to their needs, so it's not just.
One of the ones that I watched was with Khan, and it was a student that was struggling with math, obviously, and it was asking the AI, just this one part, I get lost in this one part, can you explain to me, this process, just this part? And the AI would go back and walk the student step by step. No, you did it wrong. You want to back up again and look at that one more time. And so it was truly like a personalized tutor, and they could speak to each other. It wasn't just reading. It was a full-on conversation. It was crazy.
So some of that where it's going is from there. And again, we're taking, making sure that everything is
Appropriate.
safe, is appropriate, is in there, and we want to make sure we're kind of rolling it out the right way. It's not really, it's here, it's our future. We're working on the digital literacy education for the students, how are we going to teach them to know whether an image is real or an image isn't real? Because right now, when I was in school, if I saw an image, it happened. That's how images got taken. Now you can anything can be manipulated. Or how do you know that the information you're getting in? How can you tell if that's accurate or not? So we're kind of putting together those lessons to roll out to help add that into our digital citizenship, more digital literacy.
And Teresa, didn't they come up with CAPE certifications in AI? Aren't there? I think there's 1 or 2
There's
on the CAPE list
one
now,
of those
right?
coming out now. I think Intro to
What
AI, and there
grade
might be
is
another
that?
one. I think it's high school
Okay.
is in there. So that's one I know they were looking at. I don't think it's there for this
There's
year.
a couple for digital tools.
There might be for digital tools for middle school
Yeah,
also
good.
that are starting to come out.
Because they need that. That's the world they live in right now.
Right.
They need to be able to know what's real and what's not real, but also how to utilize it in an appropriate way.
So who is, like, for example, Gemini? I remember when they first started, there were some controversial responses from the Gemini model, right? I'm sure there were some on others as well, but that was a highly politicized one. But who's fact-checking our responses? So how are we trusting on Magic School AI like we would a curriculum provider for a book to make sure that the content is accurate?
I'm glad
Well-
you brought that up, because I wrote that down, because that was one of the key takeaways from the training that I went to, the conference that I went to, is around the fact checking. And what I wrote next to here, and really what we're helping to guide our teachers with is, yes, they have to be the fact checker, but we've provided, you as a board, we've provided to them all of these resources. And so we're not saying abandon the resource. We're saying utilize the resource in order to aid you in the work. And so in the example about the bot, you're going to upload to it the content that you want it to pull from and you want it to utilize, because if not, then you do have to be the fact checker to ensure that the information is accurate. But that is a huge piece of it, this is not to abandon what we already have as far as our resources, but how do we use AI if we're going to do a personalized tutoring and I'm doing a writing lesson, I'm going to give it the article.
You can upload anything.
Yes, I'm going to give it the article. I'm going to say to it that I want it to be an informative essay. Here are some of the guidelines, and then it then supports the students through getting to the final product that I, as the teacher, have directed it to. If not, you, in my opinion, you go back to number one thing, which is the safety of it. And so as we are rolling out the different programs that are available to our students and to our teachers, you know, we have a process that we have to go through to make sure that the student data privacies and all of those things are in line with what statute says. And so helping our employees, not just our teachers, but our employees, know how important that is. Because you can't just upload information to this site that you've seen that's pretty cool, because we don't have the data privacy piece of it. And so it's not really about just going in and saying, hey, give me something on this. It's take this and help students to produce this from that, what I'm giving.
And there's what I hear Will saying, and you're exactly right? There's, as the first version of like Gemini became public,
yes, it's
refining, and all of it, like Teresa said, it's really all, every day it's improving a little bit more. But I think the greater, you know, when you look at it, it's teaching students
And teachers.
how to fact check that information, because we are all flooded with information that's biased, information that may not be true, information that could be modified, or, you know, whatever. They need to know, we all need to know, how do you spot those things? What does that look like?
And that's really what digital literacy now looks like. This is a new technology tool that's being incorporated in. So as much as anything else, remember, you know, how did you validate and know whether the content you got from a website was what was correct, or how would you determine that, and how would you value that?
Right.
So those things ultimately also translate to these tools, AI tools, that part of digital literacy for not only our staff, our you know, teachers, staff, our students, is giving them the knowledge and the tools so that they can do those evaluations as they're going through. Right? We're not simply telling kids anymore to just go, hey, go look it up on the website, right? Just because it's on the web, it must be true. So it will stand the same to say AI is the same instance. Just because it's in AI doesn't mean it's true. So teaching students, staff, our teachers how to come about those and look at those,
and how to write a prompt.
It's just going to be an ongoing piece. Exactly.
You know, writing a prompt in and of itself is a lesson, because you ask for garbage, you're going to get garbage. You know, if you ask a really good prompt and you set some of the parameters, you're going to get a much better answer than you would if you didn't.
Well, and it's also, we have to look at it too from the eyes of a student too, and the mind of a student, where when they're on the internet, I think nowadays more of them have more awareness that, you know, you have to, you know, check more sources. But when you're at school, you know, when you trust what your teacher is telling you, right? You have this relationship, and the institution itself. You have trust that what we're bringing before the child to learn has been vetted, is trustworthy, and I don't remember ever fact-checking one of my elementary school teachers, right? I just trusted what I was being taught, right? So I just think it's important that the data, the integrity of the data be, you know, very accurate. But the way I see it is that if I'm looking at this Magic School AI, I know we're just scratching the surface here. I mean, this is an update, but like the idea I have is like, okay, so here's the AI engine up here, right? And on the bottom, there's a library of vetted resources, right? So whatever it is, a historical resource, a science resource, like a textbook, right? And they drag that up there, and then that now is the data source kind of a thing, where it's not necessarily going out to the World Wide Web. It's just saying that so we can feel that that they're not just uploading something and unintentionally uploading a data source that may not the accurate, because the AI engine's only going to put out what it knows, right? So that's, the safeguards, in my mind,
Yeah.
need to be looked at there.
I think
Right.
which goes back
The human
to,
is really important in there, like the human,
Yeah.
that piece of it, I think, is almost even centralized in the whole process.
I think
So-
it's just, it just goes back to, we have provided our educators with these resources that have been approved through a vetting system.
And should save time.
And they're not, now not utilizing those. They would be able to, as you're saying, upload a passage, upload a problem, whatever it is, into Magic School, and then be able to have that bot assist their students with the content the teacher has provided. That is huge. I will tell you, the thing that I walked away the most is the safety rails that we must put on, especially for our students. As we are, and we know that the state of Florida, that's one thing. I sat in that conference in Colorado, and I was very proud of the work that we're doing here in Florida around data privacy, because some states did not have that. And so I sat and I was very confident that, okay, we already have to make sure that we're asking the question and getting documentation to confirm this product that we're engaging with is appropriately using, storing, and discarding the resources or the information that it collects on our students. And we're going to have people who are going to be frustrated because their tool that they may not be approved yet. But it is so critical that we really take our time, we vet the different platforms and programs and apps and sites and all those things that we're utilizing to ensure that the information that's being collected on our students, with our teachers, our staff, is being utilized in a way that is safe.
I would predict within the next year or so, districts, like I just went to a seminar, and the company had their own bot, right? Their
Yes.
own, it was Tony Robbins, and Tony Robbins virtual reality was there, right? It was only his material. So if you asked a question about goal setting or anything, it was all of his material. So I could see in the future where Flagler County Schools has their own virtual reality when a kid opens their screen up, and at the bottom, there is a virtual reality tool that you can click on, and the only thing in that database is every one of our textbooks, because you can just upload them. It's the information that has already been vetted, that's already gone through the approval process, and kids can utilize that, teachers can utilize that, and you don't have to worry about it because it's already come through the vetting process.
I was kind of joking on the way down here, so I put the notes together in docs, and I said, oh, look, there's a button I could click and make a quiz real quick so we could check them when we're done.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could take the specific information we had here, and we're able to like pull up just based on just that information to come up with
I
that.
think the beauty of it is the
Yeah.
idea
I
generation
love all
and
that, and
how
you're right,
fast
it's
it
the way
is.
of the future, but I'm the person who likes to see the organizational structure first. So I'm looking at the policy, I'm looking at the procedures, and also code of conduct is going to affect code of conduct. These are all things that have to all kind of piece together.
Right.
So we can keep things growing in the district. And like you said, it's happening daily. I don't think, is there any state, do we have any policies that you know of in Florida that might be already
Well,
in progress?
So we have
Or
the
done.
policy here.
We were the first district in the
Have
state.
that, but it's limited.
So that Teach AI has like a guidelines kind of document started that kind of addresses everything. You can kind of go through and specific for your district and the tools, and we're kind of working through that with it. So we're all kind of working together on those, but I think that was one of the main reasons they kind of put that Teach AI together, is to kind of be a place you can go to find those. And ISTE's, they just rolled out additional standards, like including additional topics for digital literacy and theirs, as well as the state adopted, so learning.com for rural districts. We have access to that material, which we're using this year, that has another layer, specific digital literacy tools built into that. So some of those bigger organizations, I think, are really working together to get those guidelines and
Yeah,
information.
because that we
there.
have to have that kind of structure
Sure.
to enable adequate use.
And
you
the
know,
academic piece is only a
Yeah.
part of it, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
that was the point of the task force, was to look at the academic piece of it, but also to look at food service, to look at efficiency and energy, to look at transportation, to look at a little bit of every department, custodial, capital projects,
Yep.
all of it.
Yeah, I almost think we're gonna have to get to kind of like a software company, how they have scheduled releases with AI, for example, because like you said, it's moving so quickly, you get caught up in that, and you have to say, okay, well, listen, we have our goals, yeah, new technology is coming out, but for example, like we have to have Flagler School's AI 1.0, right? And then we're gonna release 2.0 come, whether it would be a quarterly thing, if we have to move that quickly, or, biannually, so that we can keep it so that we're perfecting.
Ahead of the curve, yeah.
We're well, we may not be necessarily ahead of the
Yeah.
curve, but we will be perfecting what has been put out while almost like an Apple strategy, they tend to let the others go out and make all the mistakes, and then they learn from that, and then have a well-perfected and vetted product when they release it. We don't want to be too far behind, but based on what you're telling me here, if we are constantly trying to keep up with the hourly updates, we'll lose our minds over this thing.
We're not
gonna
even
have
close
the
with
group
that.
that is gonna wanna be out here, right? And so I think it's, one of the things I think Flagler has done very well over the course of time, and we talk about being an innovative leader, is giving those folks that are kind of out there on the edge an opportunity to be out there on the edge. And we've got ropes around them, being able to
Support that.
hold on to them. And when they find the stuff that, strike gold, so to speak, we've got processes in place to be able to share that.
There you go. Almost like there are
and-
beta testers,
Yeah.
and then,
Absolutely.
And they're
So-
enthusiastic.
Right.
where the bulk, or where those systems sit, those are the ones that we've already gone through, we've worked with, and we're at a comfortable space to be able to say, hey, these are tools that we are adopting, and all of those pieces, like what Lashaka was talking about, we've got all of those in place because we've been working through them.
And that's the
So-
structure.
And the other thing that I just wanted to hit on that Cheryl brought up, and I don't think we really touched on a ton, was I was just so pleasantly surprised when we did the initial AI Task Force Stakeholders Survey, and we had a large number of folks who said, I'm willing to help with procedure and policy around the use of AI. Because when we were talking and kind of setting it up, I was like, man, how are we going to have enough folks to kind of go through that and pull that stuff together? But that's something that's on a lot of our team's mind already, with folks who are willing to kind of roll up their sleeves, so to speak, because those things, to put those in place and those structures and procedures, that's not always the fun stuff, right? That's not always the same folks who are out here kind of leading the edge, so to speak. But they're the folks who are going to be like, well, how are we going to make sure that this works for X, Y, and Z? Make sure, what grade level does this fit to? What pieces do we need to make sure are in place if we're going to release this for middle school? What does it look like at high school? So I just wanted to just briefly touch on that we do have folks. It's a pretty good group of folks. We've got staff in there that are, like from food service, finance, facilities that are, and we're doing some projects where we're utilizing some AI to kind of build efficiencies on our operations side too, pretty significantly. But just kind of to Colleen's point, this piece of the opportunity to kind of talk about, like, it's so appropriate now to be talking about where we're at from the classroom perspective as we start school, because this will be part of the messaging, not only for our teachers, which was just phenomenal. We offered 496 of our staff took advantage of an AI related training over the course of, was it
From the
May?
spring till now, yeah. From
May, June, July. And I think that shows just a vested interest from our team to be able to show that number of participants in that. That is a great number for Flagler to be right now from rolling into this. These are folks that took time out of their summer to do this. This isn't specific days that were planned for training. These are people that took their time to participate and learn more about AI.
Well, that was like the first kickoff. I think it was like the first day of spring break, and the room was packed downstairs. And they stayed for quite a while. I mean, it was a few hours. But everybody was very enthusiastic. Anybody who was there wanted to truly be there and engage
Right.
in the task force.
And that's when we kicked off, so we did actually a pilot with Magic School AI the last, like, March, April, May, to just kind of get teacher feedback from it, for them to try it, to go through, and then kind of looked at usage numbers and feedback before we decided, does it do what we need it to do? Is it the results, that type of thing. So we do kind of use that group in addition to policy and procedures, but also to test things. Like, it's a group I can say, have you looked at this? Give me your feedback on this. And so that's, even during our trainings, before we left, I went around the room to say, because we showed a couple of different tools, what were your favorites? What did you like? What did you see? And everybody kind of had a different answer based on the few tools that we showed, because they all have a little bit different need. Like a math teacher in high school probably needs something a little bit different than the second grade teacher over here. So it's kind of trying to find
Yeah.
the,
So is the
All the
idea to
tools.
kind of start it at an administrative and instructional level first and then roll it down, or is the idea that we're going
It's
to go
our
all
instructional
in?
staff that are going to be
Right.
the ones that are vetting and ensuring that what we have access for students is what it needs to be.
So will they start integrating that into the lesson plan, or is it just more,
That-
like you said, an assistant at first and then working its way down that road? Or
I think it's a comfort level of where the individual teachers is and what level of training
Right.
that they have, as far as, at what level that they're utilizing it. It's
Okay.
like anything else related with technology. You've got folks who are like absolutely dove in and I'm 100% in there, and then you've got folks where, okay, I really think this is appropriate for this portion of my lesson, but otherwise we're, doing X, Y, and Z outside of that digital area.
So more of a resource that's available to them if they choose to use it. If they
Yes.
choose not to use it, they just go about how they've been teaching their class.
right, it's
preparing for
it's
their
not the
class.
primary focus.
Right,
It's still a
it's
resource
just
and a
a-
tool.
mhm.
And then teaching the digital literacy of it. Like, a lot of them will do it, a whole group, like maybe just put it up on the board and show, this is how this works, the kind of slowly introducing those pieces into it.
And I think the idea with the task force was, and I love the fact that there were people from every department invited to participate, and there were people from every department that were interested in AI. It wasn't all just education. Was the idea, one, explore what AI tools are out there that might impact your department, and then play with them to see if they're useful or not. The education ones have kind of been vetted and whatnot, but there's so much to discover out there.
And I want to just go back to, a clarification piece that Chair Furr, that you were making about, people utilizing it at their comfort level. But what we and this team, this AI task force, what they're also tasked to do is making sure that we're providing the levels of introduction, and we're pushing people to learn and understand it more, because it's not going to be helpful to any student to be in a class that just says, absolutely, I don't want to know anything about it, because you also can't help to protect our students with that mindset either. So a part of our Welcome Back kickoff, we're going to spend time really talking about AI, talking about academic integrity, really helping them to explore, but helping them to explore within the sandbox we have created, as well as reiterating to them what is the process. If you want to get a little bit more, if you want to add something, you saw something out there that you think would be great, we already have procedures in place for those things to be added, and so making sure that they know what they are. So yes, we can give you parameters to play around a little bit, but you have to understand what does that look like. Yes, and there's a process. And so we started off last year, and I got lots of emails from people, what do you mean this isn't available? What do you mean this isn't available? But I had to hold the line to say, until they can show us that this is a safe resource for our students to utilize, then you may not utilize it with our students. Well, it takes away all of the use of it. If I can't use it with my students, I'm sorry. But if it is not, we don't have a data privacy on it, we cannot utilize it. And so we'll be reiterating that again this year, but also helping people to understand the need to explore, the need to
expose the students to
yes.
You have to.
A
It's
need
their
for
world.
them to learn and understand so that they can help our students. Because if you're just like, I don't want anything a part of it, then you're not gonna help our students really have the integrity that they will need to have around the academic piece of it. And that's important.
And a lot of those companies are investing a tremendous amount of money and resources since the legislation came out, because you're talking about big money. And there have been a number of school districts that have decided not to use specific tools because that data privacy piece is not in there. They want to, they're business owners, they're going to figure it out, so they'll circle back around. And then they'll have the parameters that'll be appropriate to be used in schools. But, I mean, you know,
I will
until
tell-
then you have to hold the line.
Yes, but sitting in a conference with people from all over the world, I was very pleased at the data privacy things that are already in place here in the state of Florida. Because some other places do not have that, and that is in my opinion, a very dangerous place for our students to.
Now, it is a little overkill in Florida, but whatever. It's something, it's better than nothing, but it
I
is
will
pretty
t-
intense.
I just, I had an opportunity to sit with a lot of different programs, and,
They'll figure it out.
some of the programs are just taking the information out from the web. And so there is, I was very pleased at the work that we have done here in the state of Florida to protect our students. When sitting at that conference, I'll say that I said it over and over. I think
Yes.
Teresa probably was like, I hate that I brought her with me. She thought we were going to do nothing, but I'm like, safety is everything. We have to. That has to be the first and foremost, because if we can't ensure that our students are in an environment that is safe digitally, then where really are we? And for our families. And so how do
I was going to say,
we
how are we
as the-
communicating this to parents? How are we going to communicate and share some of the tools? I mean, even, family second language learner families, I'm thinking of parents who don't speak English and how powerful some of the tools could be for them to use when trying to help their child with homework.
And built in, and so we're adding more to the website on digital literacy specific to parents, like additional information. Our new website or our filtering system line-wise has like a lot of research information on that they
Excellent.
share out for schools and stuff, and this is part of that digital literacy piece that's in there, because it's new to them too. Like
Right.
they're being exposed to it, and they may have completely different views or not know, so it's kind of important to educate all of us.
With, you had said there were many different apps, which I know there's probably a new one out every day. So whether it's Magic School or one of the other ones, is there one that is specifically targeted to the administrative side of our organization, like, or for a communication piece? So for example, let's just say our student code of conduct, right? Where, let's just say we had a white labeled app that was an AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, or whatever, but all it had in there, or one section of it anyways, was our student code and conduct. And a parent could ask, can my child do this, or what can they wear to school, or what is your attendance policy?
So we do have some things we're working on in the background to essentially have an AI-enabled bot that can basically respond to any question with the database of information that we have on our website. Some pretty neat stuff coming probably pretty soon regarding that, and it's just kind of preliminary, but very good responses. Like, not your typical, here's 3 links, does one of them
Right.
do it? It's
Right.
literally more
Or you gotta read a
conversational.
100-page document to
Right.
find the answer to your
Right,
question.
it's very specific, links to the document, places you in that document, in the area and location with context.
Right, and I think that would be very helpful, because let's face it, our website has almost all the answers that most parents or the community wants.
Yeah, if you
But
can
it's,
find it.
but if you can find it. And it's hard, you know,
And that's always been a big, like, how do you find and sort through all of that information? But you are right. Some of the stuff that we're working through with some of the AI bot pieces for that is very promising. And I hope we have that in place soon.
Okay.
No.
We will.
We'll get to you.
Okay, is there anything else you'd like to share on?
I just want to commend both Ryan and Teresa, but Teresa Ryan's right, Teresa's really just taken this ball and really run with it. And not just as a project, but you can tell she's passionate about it. And I just wanted to publicly thank her for that, because you can tell.
I'm a little bit of a geek.
But your enthusiasm is contagious, and I appreciate that, and we all appreciate that. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you both.
Phenomenal job.
Yeah, that was a great presentation. I was very fascinated with what you brought back today. So
Awesome.
I'm
Thank
looking
you.
forward
Very
to
good.
even hearing more the next time. Thanks.
And if you have a training, invite us.
Okay.
Invite the board so they can get a real demo to see what some of the tools sound and
Yeah,
look like.
person.
Because they're really mind-blowing until you can experience it and see it. I mean, it's cool, but when you really see it in action, it's mind-blowing.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
Thank you
Thanks,
very
guys.
much. All right, so we're going to move back to 7.01.
And thank you, Chair Furry, and board members for supporting the task force.
Yes, thank you for taking the initiative, Dr. Conklin. 7.01, Human Resources Report and Analytics Update. Mr. Olet, Mr. Walker, welcome later.
And we have, I'll let you do it, Bob, introduce your,
Catching up.
okay.
This is for our exit survey when we talk
Thank
about
you.
it. Board Superintendent Moore, thank you for your time. I am pleased to have with us for our presentation today, and hopefully long after that, to our administrator on assignment for organizational talent, Mr. Toussaint Roberson.
Nice.
Thanks for being here.
We've been asked on multiple occasions to basically share a state of the organization, HR, in a lot of different ways, as far as just, different points of information. So we've gathered as far as our analytics and some of the different information we could share. We're going to start with a very short discussion of the strategic goal that has been started at the 2021 school year. This has been sharing some workforce data, some employee longevity information, retiree and non-reappointment trends, certification, and some exit data. So that's what we're here to discuss. And just to kind of take a look, in the 21-22 school year, the original goal was set for to reduce the percentage of vacant instructional positions. At that point, it was at 4%, with the target goal by 23-24 at 1.5%. We have had reduction. We did not hit that target point in the instructional or the non-instructional, where it actually started at 11% with a target goal of 5%. I will tell you that our snapshot, if you looked at it and used today, Friday, as our measure instead of the 10-day count, we're pretty close as far as right now. We're at 1.3 for instructional and 2.2 as far as where we are at the snapshot of today. We will get the official numbers, obviously, the 10-day count out. Definitely, and this has been a long-term trend. And a lot of times when we come up here and talk to you folks, that the worst of the issues that we had with hiring, knock on wood, are behind us, and while we still anticipate critical shortage
Don't
areas.
say that out loud, Bob.
And I'll just let that rest.
And where are we against across the state?
I mean, if you actually took their numbers and ran them, obviously the larger districts have more pronounced issues. I think there's a geography piece to it that helps us as well, as far as where we're situated between two larger districts and the opportunities for folks to kind of ebb and flow and still maintain residence in different places. So I think there are some advantages to just our geography that are helping us over some of the bigger districts right now. I mean, Orange County and you know, Seminole County, their vacancy rates are in the hundreds still. So.
Jeez. Crazy.
Okay. So, when we broke down our staff by ages, what we came up with here is 33.2% of our staff are between ages 46 to 55. Okay. Our second largest age bracket is 36 to 45, so total 60% of our instructional staff are between the ages of 36 and 55. So it seems like we have a pretty experienced staff that are instructing our students.
I bet you if we did this last year, we would have seen a whole lot up there in the 62, 65 range, right?
Yeah, and
Okay.
this data is pulled from July 11th of this year. That was the
Yeah.
snapshot.
It was
till-
right after everybody retired, right?
Now, you're gonna see some interesting trends as we move forward, but for now, this is our instructional,
Okay.
our instructional staff.
Ready for the next one?
Next slide, yes. All right, so now when we look at our non-instructional staff, what we see here is same age bracket, 46 to 55 is our largest. However, our instructional staff is a little bit older, where if you look here, 46 to 61, that represents 46% of our staff. All right, whereas when we look back at our instructional, it's 36 to 55 was our largest group. And now when we move on to non-instructional, we see 46 to 61. So our non-instructional staff is a little bit older than our instructional staff.
The instructional staff, just to comment, 25 and under, and the 26 to 35, those numbers are small.
Yeah.
Scary.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, next slide.
I think it also speaks to, not that we made this connection,
Uh-huh.
but I think it also speaks to some of the work that has been done in the state in order to attract individuals that are coming from alternate certifications. Because when we look at that number of 25 and under, at only being about 31, you know, those individuals, you would assume, they have not had a second career
Right.
versus other individuals that
Sure.
are coming may have had a second career, even if it was a brief career somewhere
That would
else.
be interesting, look at your instructional staff on the older, in that bracket, to see how many of them are alternative certifications.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, as we move forward, I want to jump ahead, but we are going to
We're a
look at
little-
Yes.
a slide that kind of gives us a little bit with longevity. I think one before that. Professional. All right, so now, when we start looking at our our administrative professional staff, same age bracket, 46 to 55 is where we have the majority of our folks.
God, sweet spot.
But just like instructional, we pull the two together. The majority of our folks are between the ages of 36 and 55, and that's 54% of our administrative and professional staff fall in that range. Now, here's where it gets interesting. For our instructional, 45% of our instructional have been with us 0 to 3 years.
Oh, that's a little scary.
Speaking of like right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right
Yeah.
now,
45, what percent?
45%.
So you look at that, and it's an interesting cross-current where we have an older instructional workforce and a low longevity. And you can trace some of that almost directly to some of the changes we've had in bargaining over the past 2 years, where we've looked at years of experience. And you also look at the trends in the state of Florida, where we are a destination for folks who are, you know, in the retirement age.
And-
So we are bringing folks with a lot of years of experience.
So we're saying, so of the 401,
So let-
those could be ages, whatever.
Yeah, so let me segue back to something Bob said earlier. Remember, we're situated in between two larger districts. So that 0 to 3 is representing the fact that we are pulling from other districts. And so some of their more experienced personnel are coming to Flagler County and they are teaching in our classroom. So even though it says 0 to 3, that does not mean 0 to 3 years of teaching experience.
Okay, yeah.
All right, so that's
Okay.
something that we need to be very cognizant of. It's not teaching experience, that is.
Do we have that as a slide? I don't remember seeing that.
No, so when we look at.
Because that would be
yeah.
interesting, because all the research
Okay.
around 3 to 5 years of retention.
As we look at years of service, we don't have that information ready for this presentation, but as we enhance this presentation for years to come, years of service is something we're definitely looking at, making sure we're capturing in our HRIS system so that we can adequately show that to the board where, hey.
Because that's where you're
yeah.
losing them, 3 to 5.
And it's a little more challenging to capture within our workforce that arrives to us their longevity from previous. I mean, you bring with you your years of experience, but you don't always encapsulate in a document exactly how many years of experience they've spent in
And that should
in
get better,
Savannah,
right?
Georgia. And
That should get better, right, Bob? Because we're now accepting years?
that should get better. The other piece of this is the tracking over time should get better as, as software develops
Yeah.
and gets better, and some of the different things that, as far as we sunset some different pieces of
Yeah.
some of the current software we have.
So are you saying that in some of these cases, is that somebody might be 3 to 5 years away from retirement, and that's why they might, one of the reasons they might be leaving? It's not that they're leaving the profession, it's just that they're retiring from the profession?
And sometimes we are a second retirement. I've interviewed folks that retired out of New
Yeah.
Jersey as a principal, and we've hired them as intervention teachers, or we've hired them as MTSS coaches. So, they bring with them 25, 26, 27 years of experience and a retirement out of another state, and then they're reflected in our 2 to 3 years on our site.
Non-instructional, you can see that even with our non-instructional, 55% of our non-instructional are also 0 to 3 years at 426.
For me, when I see this and I hear this, it goes back to why it is so important for us as an organization to focus on standard operating procedures. Because you have all of these individuals that are coming into this workforce that have not been here. And so making sure that those individuals are properly being onboarded, they're able to know and understand what is expected of them, because the majority of the people are coming in and they are new to the organization.
How are we celebrating milestones? Like, do we do anything to celebrate,
Oh, yeah.
5 years,
Yeah.
10 years, 15 years, 20 years? Like, how are we
Well,
celebrating
the
milestones?
the past 2 years, as far as, my memory heads back for this, is we absolutely do the years of service pins. And we've done them, a couple of different ways. We've recognized them through visiting the sites, and now we've also recognized them through giving those to the building leaders and to the principals and the directors to go ahead and do in staff meetings along those lines. And then we also, recognize a lot of that longevity years of service even in the retirement celebration. So, there's absolutely opportunities there.
I think and going back to, as we are really working to clean up like the data mining piece of it, because like last year we did it as part of our welcome back for our instructional staff, and then you have hurt feelings because somebody's like, no, I really have 20 years and I haven't got my PIN yet. And so again, getting a procedure of how we go about celebrating individuals, because you have a superintendent that comes in and maybe we did do it, and then maybe you have somebody else come in, they don't, and you experience people within the organization who've said, do you know I've never gotten a pin, and I've been with the organization for 20 years because on the years that we gave out pins wasn't my milestone year.
My year. Yeah.
And I say to them, you let me know how many years, and I'll bring you
I
a
was going
pin
to
out
say,
to
that's
you
just an
myself.
opportunity for us to get better.
Yes, that's an opportunity for us to get better, for sure.
And we're currently working on, for our beginning of the year, to go ahead and have the pins out to the schools
Yeah.
for that first week.
All right, so as we transition, I know we've kind of talked about retirees and how that's looked and impacted our school district in the past 3 years. Up on this slide, you see it again broken down by instructional, non-instructional, and admin professional. 21-22, we had 38 retirees. 22-23, we had 42 retirees. And this past year, we had 51 retirees. In this past year, you had 25 instructional staff, 21 non-instructional staff, and 5 admin/professional. So those are our past 3 years of retiree data by employee type. So, now, currently, as we sit here today, we have 72 employees that are in the FRS DROP program, which is the Deferred Retirement Option Program, which essentially allows employees that are at normal retirement age to, quote, retire, but continue working and receiving a paycheck from Flagler Schools. What DROP is it is a incentive plan for those reaching normal retirement age with the state to continue working as long as they see fit, essentially. It used to be 5 years with potentials of 3-year increases for instructional staff. Just this past year, that has now been increased to 8 years for all staff, with instructionals being able to submit 2 1-year increases or extensions for an up to 10 years of being in DROP. The longer someone is in DROP, there's money that accumulates on the side. Some call it a lump sum, some call it a bonus, but that is what the incentive is when they retire and actually stop working with our organization. So of these 72, these are folks that meet normal retirement age by either being 62 years of age or older while being vested, or meeting certain service requirements such as 30 years of service. Now, post 2011, those amounts increased to age 65 and or 33 years of service. It's a little bit different for everyone, but this gives you a picture of our current workforce that's in DROP.
So it's not 30 years anymore, it's 33?
So back in 2011, they put in legislation that said if you were hired before July 1 of 2011, it is age 62 or 30 years of service. If you were hired after, it's age 65 or 33 years of service. So that's normal retirement age, and that also factors in who's eligible to enter DROP. So these folks theoretically could walk out the door tomorrow and receive a non-penalized pension. So we have 48 that are instructional, 15 that are non-instructional, and 9 that are considered admin or professional. So.
Each year, written into legislation is a no-cause, non-reappointment policy for each school district within the state of Florida. Over the 3-year trend, if you look at as far as the non-reappointment by certification, and the certifications would be those folks with temporary certs or the traditional professional certification. The licensure are folks that would be within our staff that would more along the lines of school psychologists or school nurses, things with a licensure.
So are these people who timed out getting whatever required certifications?
No, actually, that would be a separate slide altogether. It would just involve the temporary folks. And actually, the legislation's changed now where they've actually stretched that out for over 5 years. So the odds of that happening like it used to happen is very small. These are more the folks that at the end of the year, school administrators have spoken, with HR and senior leadership and decided to non-reappoint these folks.
Okay, so, you're not going to know the answer to this question, but really would like to know the answer. How many of the professional non-reappointments were highly effective teachers?
Well, that would be a very large number, seeing that, over 90%, 90-something.
But why would it be a large number?
Because we skew, everybody gets highly effective across the state. A very small number, less than 10%, are effective or below.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. Well, then we have to have that conversation, because if somebody is going to be non-renewed, they shouldn't be highly effective.
And
If they
that's,
are highly effective, then we should have a larger explanation as to why we're non-renewing folks.
and I wouldn't necessarily disagree, but this is a no-cause, non-reappoint, and so
I
there
know
are.
that, but in the middle of a teacher crisis, I think this is this is a conversation I think just at some point needs to be fleshed out a little bit more, because as we look at a shortage, a teacher crisis, whether it's the evaluation process or whatever it might be. We should not be in the position where we are non-renewing folks who have received a highly effective, where students are receiving academic scores and assessments that are high achieving, and then non-renewing folks. I understand it's the end of a contract period, we don't owe anybody an explanation, but that's not the right thing to do. It's just not. I mean, and you're tarnishing somebody's reputation where they have to go to another place to apply for a job. They were highly effective in the classroom. They had student scores that were effective, highly achieving, and now they have to click somewhere else that they were non-renewed.
So.
I think it's, I definitely think it's a conversation that we can definitely continue to.
Because that says to
have.
me it's personality driven, and I
So-
don't like that. It should be
I
fact
don't-
and data driven.
I will definitely say that it's not personality
yes.
No.
driven, but when, especially right now, as we are looking at making adjustments to our teacher evaluation, we're making adjustments to our administrative and professional evaluation. When you think about, just say work ethic, when you think about the way I interact with others within the organization, my professionalism, I could get zeros across that whole section and be highly effective. But does that person represent the mission, vision, and guiding principles of the organization? And so and when I look at it, it's not just about are the students performing, but really does that individual represent the mission, vision, and guiding principles of the organization?
So what I'm hearing, right, is there's kind of two things at play. One is the evaluation tool, right? Because if that's the case, if you could get zeros across the board because you're not a team player, you know, you don't participate in committees or whatever it might be, right? And you get zeros across that board, that category. But your students are highly achieving and the rest of it looks stellar and you are, right, your overall evaluation is highly effective, then we probably need to have a hard look at the evaluation tool that we're using, but also how the evaluation is being maybe done. Because you're talking about 35 individuals, 12, 23, and it would just be very interesting to see of that percent, how many are highly effective. Especially in the middle of a crisis, a teacher shortage. I mean, how many open positions do we have right now again?
11.
11. So out of the 35, 11.
Well,
So I'm
Well-
bringing a point to, you know, just for consideration and thought.
I will say that of the 33, a percentage of those did have at least a misconduct investigation during the course of the year.
That's what I'm saying, they
percentage.
shouldn't have then
But-
a highly effective.
But you can still, you could get below effective in every section of domain 4 and still come out as a highly effective teacher. Okay, and that's a skewing across the state. You'll see 90% of state teachers end up in the highly effective range.
So
This is
again, it
not,
goes back to
this is
the
part of-
evaluation tool.
and I wouldn't argue that being part of it. The other piece is kind of apples to oranges, but every profession, there are folks that are no longer a fit for wherever the organization piece is, and sometimes these folks are hires later into the year. I mean, heck, Tom Brady was cut from the Patriots and still won a Super Bowl. I mean, so we can, you know, a lot of these folks.
And that was a big mistake for the Patriots. I mean, you just proved my point.
No, this is what I would say. We will definitely, we can dig in this more, we can definitely have,
I'm not being difficult.
No,
I'm just
I do
trying
not
to-
take it
it's
that-
just something for us to think about.
I agree with you completely, but what I will say is we do have a need for educators across the state. but we are in no means in a place of desperation. We are still in a place to be extremely competitive
Good.
and identify individuals who represent the mission, vision, and core values of this organization. And when we go back to 0 to 3, the percentage of people that are sitting in 0 to 3,
That makes me nervous.
it makes me nervous, but it also, we have to make decisions around the level of investment that we invest in individuals who don't represent the core values of the organization. And so, yes, we as a state here in Flagler County, we need educators coming here, but we are not in a place of desperation. We want the best for our students, and if individuals do not represent the core values of this organization, I will gladly
Yeah,
assist in
I
that.
wouldn't argue with that. I don't
Yeah.
have an issue with that, but it sounds like we definitely have an issue with the evaluation tool.
And
I think, yes, all of them, from mine all the way down, to look at it to make sure it represents what we wanted it to represent.
I think one thing that doesn't reflect in this is also the fact that this entire year is a probationary year in that first year.
Sure.
And we only probationary release 4 instructional folks during the course of the year.
Is that the temporary?
That's it's not a temp, it's your 1 year higher where you're
Oh,
probationary.
yeah,
It's
right.
not certification.
Yeah,
So,
only 4 people.
Yeah, so, I mean, there are times absolutely where we work with our folks and we prescribe, support plans in a lot of different ways with our academic coaches to make
Okay.
sure that we do the best by our folks.
And I just want to agree with you. I do want us to have the very best for our children, I don't want one of my kids to come home and say, well, I spent all day on the iPad, you know what I mean?
Oh, no,
Like,
absolutely not.
But it happens sometimes, so, you want to have the very best teaching our
Yeah.
kids.
But it just seems like the evaluation tool should reflect, if somebody is not the very best,
Right.
then the evaluation tool should reflect that. That's all.
As far as types of certifications held, and we talked a little bit about this, but the temporary certification, we currently have 74 folks with a temporary cert. Those would be what we term as our alternate certification folks. Those are folks that are in the progress of the second career, and it's now a 5-year trajectory where you have to go ahead and get yourself to a fully certified place. The fully certified folks are 735, and of those 735, a large portion of those as well could be alternative folks that have actually completed all their requirements. So there's absolutely more to the story than what's just shown on this chart. And the district certifications are things that we issue for our CTE folks, and there are currently 14 of those.
All right. So as we look at our exit survey at the beginning of this presentation, I handed each of you just a handout, and that includes what our questions are for our exit survey. How our process works for our exit survey is for anyone voluntarily leaving the organization, whether it is a resignation or a retirement, we send out this survey directly to their emails. The period of data that we are looking at is from April of 2023 up through July of 2024. As they go through this process, if they mark on their exit survey that they wish to speak to someone in regarding their time with Flagler Schools, I am notified and I reach out directly to the individual for further conversation. During this period of time, 286 surveys were sent out, and we received 106 back at a return rate of about 37%. Moving forward, we are also adding in their personal emails as we're sending it in hopes of increasing that response rate. So as we go to the first question I wanted to highlight, we see here exit survey data and its responses by employee type. And this shows the breakdown based on employee type. So of the responses, 60 folks were instructional, so about 57%. 34% were from our non-instructional staff, and about 10%, 9% or so was from our admin/professional. So it's important to know that as you are reviewing these answers, these are the subgroup of employees that have responded accordingly. On this question, now these pie charts are going to have a lot of different slices, so bear with me. So this question asks, how many years have you worked with Flagler County School District? And you'll see here that over 50% are filling this out, worked with us from 1 to 4 years. So this also goes in line with when we look at our longevity with Flagler schools for our instructional, non-instructional, being in that 0 to 3, it all kind of interconnects when you look at that. And then when we break it down by work location, you can see here that the majority, or not even the majority, but our largest slices, so to speak, are coming from our schools with the largest staff concentrations. So Matanzas High School, FPC, and Bunnell, that just gives you an outlook. These are just on who have responded to the survey. And then at the right here is our reason for exit. So on the survey, we asked them a question on, why are you leaving the organization? And then based on their answers, this is where it charted. So the two largest ones that I want to highlight were folks that put down personal reasons and relocation as their top 2 reasons or top reasons for leaving the organization, followed by inadequate salary and retirement.
Could we consider on the survey, possibly instead of just saying personal reasons, leave family, but have an other box where people can fill in?
Absolutely.
Because you might get more, you might be able to see more of a trend or more categories
Yep.
come out of that.
No problem. But so these were the ones we wanted to highlight as far as our exit survey data goes. Hopefully every year that we do this and we're maintaining our standard operating procedure with it, we get even more responses back and better data to help inform our decisions moving forward.
Relocation, that one surprised me.
Not actually.
No. I'm not a fan of exit surveys. So, I mean, when people decide to go, they go. And a lot of times, they'll give you a good reason. Other times, they're not going to really tell you why.
And that's why you only get a 30% return rate, but that's about average.
I really would, I'm still pushing that we
The state
start.
surveys?
Yeah. What makes them stay? The state surveys, what are we doing that you like?
That idea is good too.
Why do you stay? Why are you an employee? Why are you staying past 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? Sure, we understand when it gets longer, you've been here a while. So I would prefer to see it, and that's the trend in all human resources at this time. So they're getting away from exit surveys and they're going strictly for the stay surveys.
But what's good, Cheryl, and you can probably get the data, maybe even outside of an exit survey. It's the, like, how many years have you worked with Flagler County Schools? The it follows the research, right? The 2 to 4 years is the highest percentage. But then as a department, you can say, okay, retention, what can we do for that?
Family, or is it
Targeted
you like
area.
us so much? Is it your proximity to the ocean? Who knows, but yeah.
But things like that, like years with Flagler schools, isn't that data that we also internally have that we could run reports against also?
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
I'm just saying, like, some of this is already, we have it, right? So the question too is also, the longer a survey, the more questions you have, the less likely one is to fill it out. So maybe even pre-populating, if this is from a database that we have, that it fills in what we already know, we already have that's there. And then, so for example, years or this and that, and all they're doing is filling in the blanks that are real data that we really want to get back, because it's like you've seen that customer service surveys have gone to one question afterward because they realize no one's going to hang on the line to do that. So just something to consider.
Or like leaving education, be curious, in the reason for exiting, like how many are actually leaving education completely? Because I'm hearing that more and more.
I will share with you, I don't have it in digital format, I have the paper-based version of it, but the Commissioner Summit this year focused on retention, the teacher shortage area, and there is some data across the state around the percentage of individuals that are leaving to go into another area other than, I will share that with you guys as a board, the information that was shared from that presentation.
Yeah, in the category of inadequate salary, you know, we want to look at that, are those first-time teachers, or are those teachers that maybe have been affected by compression, you know, like things like that, to see where that problem lies, you know, when that question is
So
answered.
even non-instructional. I mean,
And not, yeah, exactly, so.
But I was just gonna mention that this survey includes instructional and non-instructional, so.
So
Yeah,
it's,
it kind of
yeah, right,
blends
so
it
it has
together.
the two. Got it.
And the only caveat is sometimes when you pre-populate, I mean, we don't, you know, promise absolute anonymity, but we're not looking for your name when you come back. So,
Right.
so the more we pre-populate it, the more we're kind of identifying you as who you are.
Oh,
So that's-
because this is more of a anonymous type of exit survey?
You could print it and drop it off at the
I
office.
see,
you know,
okay,
yeah,
I
so
got it.
We're just trying to increase the response rate by doing that, so just.
So they print it, or they?
You
do
could send it back,
Okay,
you could
okay,
send
I
it back
gotcha.
through.
But they can do it
Through a
online.
Google
Yep.
email address, you can send it back through our work email, it's just,
Okay,
Gotcha.
no matter how we get it, we'll use it, so.
gotcha. Yeah, I think that's, you know, actually having the, you know, this somewhat of amenity to it may lend to more honest answers, or, you know, just because,
No, I agree. I think so.
So,
Thank you
Okay.
very much. Very comprehensive.
Yeah.
Thank
Great
you.
overview.
Wow, don't go anywhere.
we have another,
you're right.
7.02.
Yes.
We've got, this is a transportation job description.
Yes, 7.02, the Chief of Transportation, Mr. Walker, and Mr. Freeman came to me, and we had a discussion regarding ways that we can assist and expand our pool of drivers, and getting to those areas where, for example, part of the rules and guidelines under homeless education is that when you file for that, you are allowed to remain at your zone school. It could be possible that you are living in a location now that's far away from Bunnell Elementary School, for example, but transportation would have to find a way to, you know, bus you from that from your current living location to, you know, Bunnell Elementary School, for example. We have portions around our district where it's not as cost-effective or feasible to go ahead and send a bus out for a small number of folks. We do have a very robust van fleet that, you know, we can multi-purpose in different ways, as far as a lot of it's accessed for high school usage and secondary schools for the activities and things they do, but we also have 9-passenger vans that can be used for just the example I gave. I'm sure I don't do it justice for all the other examples that Mr. Walker could sit here and share. But the purpose of this job description is to allow them to go ahead and hire folks that would become their trained van drivers. It also offers the flexibility in the initial qualifications are, for example, let's say there was a 4-week stretch where we needed 5 van drivers, and then one large homeless family moved and we no longer needed a van. That person could return to their regular job as a bus aide. So it kind of gives a chance to, for lack of a better word, cross-train some folks.
So this would be a non-CDL driver.
Yep.
How many positions do we think we need?
I was told that there were probably between 4 to 6 that may be on ongoing permanent, but sometimes with substitutes needed up to 10.
Is this like a full-time, similar to bus drivers, or they're driving all day, like?
Well,
what does it
it's,
look like?
yeah, it's situational. I mean, you know, just like the bus drivers bid for routes, and some of their routes could give them almost a 7-hour day. Other folks end up with routes that are a little over 4 hours, depending on the distance and what's traveled. I mean, it would be basically, they couldn't park the van in most cases and then get on, you know, the Giraffe bus and be the attendant, because it just wouldn't overlap. And more likely, they'd be driving the van for 3-4 weeks, and then that job wouldn't be needed anymore, and then they would get back to their old position as the aide for the van, for the Giraffe bus.
And as we look at some of our students that live in further locations, we do anticipate that on a daily basis, just like our buses, there will be at least 4 vans that are traveling throughout our community for pickup for our students, at least 4 vans that is needed at this time.
So will this kind of, you might have said this already, that this will address like the students that are way, way, way.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Mondex.
And
Yes.
so would that also mitigate, one of the problems that we have to have a very early pickup time in order to get out there. Would this potentially make those times not have to be so early for those students, or would they still need that super early even with the van? Or are you aware of that?
I'm not aware of that,
Right,
but it
that's
just seems
more
if you got a small,
Right.
some more operational, if it's a small number of folks,
Mhm.
if your bus is usually carrying, 60 students, well, 55 of them won't have to get up as early because you're headed out to just get 5 of them in the van that are the farthest pickup point.
And so
So it will reduce for some students, but across the district, we will not see a significant reduction right now. But as we just become more efficient with the use of it, that definitely will improve.
So would we be pulling from the bus aids that we have now to facilitate this, or will we have to hire new staff to accomplish this?
I think that would probably be best answered by Mr. Walker, but I do see a combination of both. He was very, in our discussions, was very adamant that he felt he had some bus aides that could immediately, be interested in this position. And if he doesn't get the response he's thinking of, he would probably then have to do a general advertisement.
So did he relay any expectation about how many additional positions, once we create the job description?
His thought on the additional positions were that where the additional positions would come in, most likely would be through like substitute bus aides.
Okay. And are these all within the budget? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was going
Yeah.
to. So, within budgetary,
I would not
Yes.
look to make an assumption on transportation's budget,
okay.
but
So
Yes.
they're not, we're looking to create a job description, but not add to their budget to facilitate. It's within the current budget as far as,
We have budgeted for this,
okay, you
yes.
have, okay.
That's the key question.
I'm curious, I would just like to see like where these vans will go and within the county. Out of
Once we
curiosity.
finish with routing, if you can ask Mr. Freeman to provide that information. We're busy working with routing right now. We're already getting the calls, when is my kid's bus coming, what time, what location? So we're finalizing routing, and once that is finished, then we'll know exactly where these vans will be going, and we can get that information.
Smart.
Okay, yeah, actually, I think this could be a good answer to
Oh,
the, a
absolutely.
solution to this problem, so, very good. All right, any other questions or comments? No? All right, thank you. Mr.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Thank you.
Okay, so we will move on now to 10.01, board policy, Superintendent Moore.
Excellent. So before you, we have several board policies that we are recommending being updated. We will be bringing more policies to you. All of these policies have come to us from NEFAC, who currently provides our policy updates. All of the adjustments have been aligned with our most frequent or our final legislative session that we just came out of. I'm going to briefly go over them. I'm not going to read all of the words on the page, but really identify what the changes are specifically. And so policy 208, this is a revision for collective bargaining. The areas that are being adjusted are areas that are now exempt from collective bargaining as a result of our last legislative session. Policy 306, which is a revision as well for our safe and secure schools. The adjustments that are being made to these are now the reporting responsibilities of Mr. Thomas Willihan, which is our safe school specialist. It also indicates some requirements that we have around providing our students with instructions around their safe school, the location in their classroom that is the safe space within their classroom. And if you have questions about any of these, of course,
No,
I'm willing to
just a quick one. The responsibilities for safe schools has really been expanded over the years. To the point, it makes me wonder, is this still a one-person responsibility? Because every time, now, because I was reading this, and they've got to go now have surprise visits,
Yes.
you know, and of course, everything has to be documented and sent up to Tallahassee. And this is in addition to a lot of other things that are also required.
Yes.
You know, when does it, you know,
Has it?
extend where one person, I mean, I don't even know how one person can keep doing a lot of this stuff and still do it adequately.
It is definitely a conversation that we
Hey.
are having. It's because of how our Safe Schools officer is, some of his responsibilities. So we are looking at that right now. You know, it's
Yeah, I
one
mean,
person, but
it's
we'll
one
continue
person,
to
there's a
look
lot
at
of responsibilities, and he has other responsibilities
Yes.
besides that.
it. Yes.
Yes, that's what I thought. So, I mean, there might be time to start trimming away some of those responsibilities, which creates a whole nother whole wax.
We definitely are looking at how can
Okay.
we be most efficient in the
Yeah.
role that this one
Because it
individual
seems like
plays
it's just going to
within
keep going. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
416 is dropout prevention program. It is just a notice of alternative forms. That's what that is. 425 is the operation of unmanned aerial vehicles, which are drones, which essentially state that drones are not permitted on campus unless the permission has been provided by the principal or superintendent.
Yeah, because we have the drone cage on FPC's property, and that does.
But other
they
individuals
can-
could not
yes.
fly drones on our property, over our property without first
But
getting
our school
permission.
kids,
Yeah.
they'll be-
Our still-
we have
our-
a couple
yes,
clubs, I
yes.
think, that utilize that.
Yes.
Good.
511 is student control, and this is notification of suspension, essentially saying that the family can let us know how, if they would like an alternate notification beyond just mail. So we can send the suspension to them in email if that's, you know, what they want. That's 511. Going on to 550, this is a new policy. This policy is on high school equivalency programs, and it just talks about the GED program. And then 8.01, safety, and this goes into the reporting of safety violations as well as progressive discipline, again, as legislation change this year. Those are all of the updates for this time. I will let you know that we will be bringing some additional updates before you in our next cycle, so beginning in August. Any questions about any of the proposed updates?
Do you know when they'll be coming before us?
This will be August 20th.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay. So if there aren't any other questions, we will move on to public comment. Any public comment? See no one come forward. No one signed up, I take it. So we will close that out and
An idea, just kind of talk about. So, a couple weeks ago, I was at the big Advent Orlando, and like half the population is speaking Spanish, right? Okay. A lot of times in healthcare, I think to myself, I wish I had, retained a lot of that in high school, and it just got me to thinking about what would it take for us to start to introduce a second language through K through 5, where kids can retain a second language a lot better. Could even implement the AI in that somehow. I don't know if that's going beyond, Florida, but we could be the first county to start to do that. Just something I was thinking about, the kids.
There are a
start to
lot of
learn.
districts, there
I
are
love
districts
that
that do
idea.
it. I think it's a great way to go. I mean, there are districts, especially up north, many of them have those integrated classrooms where half the day they have English and half the day they have Spanish.
Not that I'm trying to force it,
But
but as you get
it's a
older,
good thing to
Yeah.
proceed.
you're
Yeah, I
gonna need
agree.
it. You need
No,
it
I
in your
think that's a
career.
good thing. Good thing.
Just something I was thinking of.
it's a good suggestion.
Yep, good one.
Right. Any other board member requests? Seeing none, then we'll move to closing comments.
I have one closing comment. It's actually, I just picked it up yesterday, watching the news with Osceola School Board. Osceola School Board lost their a school board member 9 months ago, and they finally got their appointment, the new appointment from the governor. And that same seat is up for reelection this round. So he'll hold the seat for like 60 days.
Oh, jeez.
I know. Isn't that awful?
That is awful.
That is awful, but just a FYI, the process, it could be a long time. So,
Has there been, has she, has?
no,
Ms.
but I'm
Hunt
just saying, in
officially-
the event, in the event it really happens, just know that it could be a very similar time frame, if you think about the 9 months in between and all. So, that's all. Just,
Thank you.
it caught my attention, I'm like, oh,
Yeah, I
boy.
saw that news story as well.
Yeah, Osceola, yeah.
Is he running?
He is running, but he has like 3 other people also running, so there's 4 of them running.
Crazy.
And it's like 60 days. Like, thank you, Governor, but,
All right, anybody else have any closing comments? Seeing none, Superintendent Moore? Okay, well, thank you all, and this meeting is adjourned.